Hey everybody, how's it going? It's your man here, K85, and today I'm back with a 5-minute review where we look at a fan game in under 5 minutes. As always, remember that this is my completely subjective opinion. Let's get to it. Today we're looking at Pokemon The Rising Sun by KennyCatches, which is their first game. The game sends the player to Hoenn to play as Wally, May, and Brendan, but they all play a part in figuring out why Larvestas have infested Mount Chimney and Jagged Pass. While polish in quite a few aspects is certainly missing, the opportunity to go back to Hoenn and play through a unique and exciting premise made this game an enjoyable experience. The first thing that's noticeable about this game is how similar the world is to the Hoenn of Ruby and Sapphire. Almost every map seems to be a carbon copy of itself. It really gave the game a feeling of an actual Pokemon game, which works well with the story. The Hoenn vibes were reinforced by the music, which is all Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire music from their respective areas. These two things working together created an aesthetic that I really enjoyed. Though I really enjoyed the recreations of Hoenn, one of the only maps that wasn't taken from Hoenn is the Neo Magma base. It's mostly bland and boxy. For one of the maps that plays a prominent role in the game, it was disappointing to see a map that wasn't well thought out. Speaking of the Neo Magma base, a lot of the battling takes place there. I found the balance seemed to be pretty good. There were some grunt battles that I thought were maybe too difficult, but nothing too major. I also thought the boss battles were good too. I had a fun time in the end taking down the final boss with Brendan. Speaking of Brendan, one of my favorite aspects of The Rising Sun was how the story weaved around switching characters. I know I'm a sucker for games that switch characters, but to me it added to the vibe of the game and I felt like I was playing a Gen 3 DLC. The sections where the player battles with a partner also added to the vibe of the game. Battling with Winona in the Weather Institute and Flannery in the Neo Magma base was an enjoyable way to get more memorable characters from Hoenn into the game. Partner trainers is a feature that admittedly everyone underuses, but it's used to great effect in this game. While a lot of things are used well in this game, there were some small issues and nitpicks that I had. Firstly, though there isn't anything wrong with the glazed-esque tile set, mixing Gen 3 overworlds with a largely Gen 4 tile set doesn't work. Also, I was disappointed that the water tile didn't have an animation. It's one of the few things that took away from the vibe of the game. Another thing that did so was the level of wild Pokemon. It puzzled me that in a game that looked to replicate everything from Hoenn, that the levels of wild Pokemon wouldn't be the same. I'm sure this was done so the player could catch wild Pokemon and add them to their team, but with each playable character having at least 3 starting Pokemon, it doesn't make sense for the player to have to catch new Pokemon. Additionally, it doesn't make sense canonically. One more thing, a small nitpick. I found that often, especially in the final scene, that a lot of the dialogue ends with an ellipse. It's not something that's necessarily bad, but it seemed to get quite repetitive to me. I ended up reading it like every sentence just tailed on and didn't have a definitive ending. The last thing I haven't touched on yet is the actual plot. I got Black and White 2 vibes from Team Neo Magma, with how they used Unova Pokemon and had a distaste towards their predecessors. However, I'm not entirely sure why Neo Magma was going after the Red Orb and invading the Weather Institute if they didn't need Groudon to complete their objective. It's also important to note that I wasn't really paying attention to the story in this game, as I was more so taking in the feeling of pure Hoenn. It's obvious that Pokemon The Rising Sun doesn't have a ton of polish, but it does have incredible gameplay and a great vibe. For a first game from a single-person dev team, this is fantastic work from KennyCatches. I can't wait to see improvement in the future games from Kenny. As always, make sure to mock punch that like button and of course subscribe if you have not. But with that you guys, I'm gonna get up out. This is K85 signing out. Thanks for watching everybody and have yourselves a good day.